This is a story that seems simple, but it hides a secret that very few can discover, a mystery that challenges the laws of physics. He went back in time, but something was wrong. Can you find the hidden keyword in this story? Comment your answer, subscribe, and prepare for more stories full of enigmas. Dr. Alistair Finch, 50, was a man defined by reclusion, genius, and deep personal tragedy. He lived alone in a sprawling, decaying Victorian mansion in upstate New York, a place where the wallpaper peeled like old skin and the air hung heavy with the dust of forgotten time. His singular obsession was the legacy of his grandfather, a disgraced physicist who claimed to have unlocked the secret of time travel. For Alistair, the past was not just history. It was a mistake he was desperately trying to correct: the sudden, tragic death of his wife, Amelia, years ago. In the mansion's vast, damp cellar, Alistair had reconstructed his grandfather's masterwork, the imposing and unsettling resonant pendulum. It was an apparatus unlike any modern machine, built not of circuit boards and fiber optics, but of oxidized brass, massive quartz gears, and crystal resonators, drawing sustainable power from the geothermal energy beneath the New York bedrock. It was a beautiful, terrifying anachronism. After 2 decades of relentless work, fueled by grief and relentless science, Alistair finalized the intricate calibrations. He engaged the pendulum's master switch, and the entire cellar shuddered, the machine humming with a raw, primal force that seemed to challenge reality itself. He closed his eyes, bracing for temporal displacement, feeling a sudden, intense vertigo that lasted less than a second. He was back at his workbench. The pendulum was utterly silent, its massive quartz gears static. Alistair's heart sank. He had traveled, but seemingly returned to the exact same instant. Something was undeniably wrong. Alistair raced through the cold, echoing rooms of the mansion. What he saw was a cold, stark impossibility. Every timepiece in the house, the towering grandfather clock in the main hall, the small antique watch on his desk, the digital clock on the oven, was stopped at the exact same moment, 11:04 a.m. and 37 seconds. The precise instant he activated the pendulum. He checked his phone. No signal, no GPS lock, and the system clock was frozen. He tried the landline. Dead. Alistair realized with a chilling clarity that transcended his scientific training that the pendulum had not moved him through time. Instead, the machine had catastrophically failed and paralyzed the flow of time around him. The universe continued, but his mansion and everything inside it were trapped in a temporal stasis zone, a terrifying, localized bubble where one single minute had been lost. Alistair knew the gravity of the error. The machine hadn't taken him to the past. It had isolated him from the present, creating a dangerous anomaly. Desperate, he initiated an emergency backup, a short-burst Wi-Fi system, and sent a coded email to the only person who could possibly understand, Dr. Singh, 30, his brilliant ex-student and a leading expert in quantum mechanics at Cornell University. Alistair returned to the silent pendulum. He noticed a thin, faint line of glowing light, an inscription on the quartz base that hadn't been there before. He deciphered the ancient Latin carved by his grandfather, a warning. Time does not bend, it resonates. To correct the flaw, you must find the error in the harmony. The error was in the frequency and not the force. The chilling realization that the flaw was in the harmony, the frequency, and not the power source, forced Alistair to abandon the mechanical puzzle and focus on the quantum physics. He desperately needed Maya's expertise, but in the temporal stasis, he could only wait. Hours later, a sharp rap on the main hall door broke the mansion's eerie silence. Dr. Singh stood on the dilapidated porch, her demeanor sharp and analytical, holding a sealed envelope containing Alistair's coded message. She had immediately recognized the signature of a severe temporal event. Inside, Alistair swiftly explained the stasis, the missing minute anomaly where time stood still. Maya immediately brought out her specialized equipment. She confirmed his findings. The house was encased in a localized, self-sustaining temporal field. The machine didn't fail to travel, Maya corrected, her voice precise. It achieved a state of perfect temporal resonance, but it locked onto the wrong frequency. It stopped time in this local bubble rather than shifting the entire wave. She pointed her handheld scanner at the huge grandfather clock, which was stuck at 11:04:37. All these clocks are now acting as temporal mirrors, reflecting the exact instant of the anomaly. Maya's scanner picked up traces of residual energy near the pendulum's base, a fluctuating wave pattern. Your grandfather left a clue, Alistair. That inscription about harmony suggests the machine is not broken, it's mistuned. We need a set of correction codes to adjust the pendulum's resonant frequency. Otherwise, this stasis will eventually collapse, taking this house and potentially this region with it. They focused on the incomplete vellum map found in the walnut box. Leah noticed it featured 3 distinct ornate symbols overlaid onto the house's floor plan: a lion, a scale, and a heart. Alistair remembered a story from his grandfather's memoirs about 3 hidden anchors left within the house, designed to withstand any interference. They realized these anchors were the keys to the 3 correction codes needed to fine-tune the pendulo. The final enigma was identifying the anchors and determining what the error in the harmony actually was. Maya's scanner suddenly buzzed near the main staircase. She carefully moved a small, seemingly mundane ceramic tile on the 4th step. Beneath it was a tiny, dust-caked metal plate. Engraved on the plate was the first of the 3 symbols, the lion, and beneath it, a numerical sequence. Maya noted the complexity of the sequence. This isn't a simple password, Alistair. It's a frequency modulation code. We've found the first adjustment, but to understand the error, we need the other 2, and we have no idea what happens when we input the first one. The discovery of the lion code under the stair tile provided their first concrete mechanism to break the stasis. Maya insisted on extreme caution. These codes aren't just numbers, they're temporal stabilizers. Inputting them in the wrong order or without the final correction could trigger a collapse instead of a shift. They analyzed the lion code against the pendulum's base inscription. Find the error in the harmony. The lion in ancient symbology represented strength and authority. They returned to the cellar. The pendulum's quartz base had 3 small circular keypads, perfect for inputting the codes. They decided to input the lion code first, assuming it was the base frequency. Maya carefully entered the sequence into the first keypad. The moment the final digit was pressed, the immense silent pendulo gave a deep, terrifying thrum. The sound wasn't mechanical. It was a pure, resonant chord that made their teeth ache. The air in the room suddenly warmed, and the residual energy readings spiked. A second later, the pendulo settled. The ambient sound returned to the eerie silence of the stasis zone. However, a major change had occurred. The clock on Alistair's wrist, which had been frozen, suddenly ticked once, then stopped again at the new time, 11:04 a.m. and 38 seconds. "The code worked!" Alistair exclaimed, hope surging through his dread. "We broke 1 second of stasis!" "No, Alistair," Maya corrected, her face grim. "We didn't break it. We advanced it. We used up 1 second of the missing minute. We only have 59 seconds remaining until the stasis collapses entirely." The temporal anomaly was not static. It was a ticking time bomb. The something wrong was the rate of collapse. They had to find the remaining 2 codes, the scale and the heart, quickly. They reviewed the map. The scale symbol was overlaid onto a hidden recess behind the main fireplace hearth, a symbol of balance and justice. Leah and Ethan rushed to the main fireplace, carefully prying away an ornate brass plate. Behind it was a small, lead-lined compartment. Inside, nestled on ancient velvet, was a silver scale model, the scale anchor. On the model's base was the second complex frequency modulation code. But as Maya reached to pick it up, she noticed a faint, shimmering visual distortion hovering directly above the scale model. A brief, unsettling ripple in the air that smelled faintly of old smoke. The temporal bubble was thinning, showing a glimpse of the past or the future, a clear sign that their actions were accelerating the instability. The shimmering visual distortion above the scale anchor confirmed the timeline's increasing instability. The something wrong was escalating. The air around them felt heavy, static. They were in a race against the collapse of their 1-minute temporal bubble. The scale, representing balance and justice, was the key to stabilizing the pendulo's core mechanism. They carefully entered the scale code into the second keypad. Again, the pendulo emitted a resonant thrum, this time a slightly higher chord that vibrated through the floor. The clock on Alistair's wrist ticked once more, stopping at 11:04 a.m. and 39 seconds. 2 seconds of the missing minute were gone. "We have 58 seconds left," Maya announced, her voice strained. "The codes are working, but they are not the solution. They are just adjustments. The final error is still active, acting as a dissonant anchor." They focused on the final symbol on the map, the heart, overlaid onto a small music room, a symbol of emotion and sentiment. Alistair realized this room was Amelia's favorite. He suddenly understood the true nature of his grandfather's machine. It wasn't purely scientific. It was designed to respond to human emotion. The final enigma was to find the last code, the heart code, and identify the error in the harmony, the dissonant frequency that was locking the stasis. They searched Amelia's music room. Alistair pointed to an antique metronome on a shelf, a device dedicated to rhythm. He recalled his grandfather's belief that music was the universal temporal constant. Maya's scanner immediately screamed near the metronome. She carefully opened the device. Inside the mechanism, she found the third anchor, a small crystal heart pendant inscribed with the final complex frequency modulation code. As Alistair reached for the pendant, he noticed a tiny, subtle detail inscribed below the heart symbol in his grandfather's hand. The word discord. Subtle clue. 1. The core problem is discord. The pendulum suddenly whined, and the clock ticked again, stopping at 11:04:40. They had 57 seconds remaining. The discovery of the heart code and the cryptic word discord provided the final piece of the enigma. The error in the harmony was not a technical failure, but a dissonant frequency, a constant noise preventing the machine from locking onto the correct temporal wave. Alistair looked at the heart code, now fully understanding the nature of the trial. The lion, strength, and the scale, balance, gave us the adjustments. The heart, emotion, must be the key to the final correction, the signal we need to generate to overwhelm the discord. They raced back to the cellar, Maya quickly inputting the heart code into the third keypad. The final thrum was the most profound yet, a deafening low note that shook dust from the ceiling. The clock ticked again, 11:04:41. 56 seconds left. "All 3 codes are in," Maya announced, checking the pendulum's core. "The pendulum is fully calibrated and stable, but it's still locked in stasis because of the residual discord frequency." Maya pulled up the analysis of the residual energy. It was a faint, low humming noise, a background noise unique to the mansion. This discord frequency is what your grandfather mentioned. It's an environmental resonance that's contaminating the temporal field. They realized the source had to be a common, rhythmic sound in the house, something that represented a perpetual noise in the environment. Alistair remembered his obsession with absolute silence during his work. Alistair suddenly pointed to the vast, derelict boiler system in the far corner of the cellar which provided the geothermal power. It was silent in the stasis, but during normal operation, it emitted a faint, low, constant vibration. "That boiler is the discord. It's been generating a constant low-level hum for years." Maya immediately ran the spectral analysis on the boiler's structure. The reading confirmed it. The boiler's normal operational sound signature was exactly the dissonant frequency locking the stasis. The pendulo was ready to travel, but the noise was stopping it. They needed a more powerful, opposing harmonic frequency to overcome the discord. The discovery that the discord frequency was the constant low hum of the mansion's boiler system was a scientific breakthrough, but a practical disaster. They could not turn off the boiler without losing all power to the pendulo. They needed a precise opposing harmonic frequency to cancel the noise and allow the pendulo to finally initiate true time travel. "We need a source of pure, sustained sound wave that matches the pendulo's ideal resonant frequency," Maya explained. "It has to be something that generates a perfect, unwavering tone to counteract the boiler's dissonance." Subtle clue 2. The solution is a specific frequency. They had the final clue from the heart anchor, emotion and sentiment. Alistair realized the solution had to be an object with profound emotional value to his grandfather, designed to generate the harmonic frequency. He remembered a small music box Amelia used to play. It was an antique, made of polished mahogany and intricately carved. His grandfather had always insisted it was the most perfect mechanism in the house. The music box was located in the attic, locked away since Amelia's death. They raced upstairs, the ticking clock on Alistair's wrist painfully reminding them of their dwindling time. Now, 11:04:48, meaning only 49 seconds remained until temporal collapse. They found the small antique music box. It was locked, and the key was lost. They couldn't waste time looking. Maya used a miniature laser cutter from her kit to delicately bypass the lock mechanism. Maya opened the lid of the music box. The air instantly filled with a complex, delicate sequence of notes, a pure, sweet melody. Maya pointed her scanner at the tiny internal cylinder. The reading was instantaneous. The music box was generating a perfect, unwavering harmonic frequency, the exact opposing signal needed to cancel out the boiler's discord. Alistair looked at the melody, a wave of profound emotion washing over him. This was the true key to the pendulo. But as the melody filled the air, the pendulo below began to vibrate violently, the stone floor shuddering, indicating the imminent temporal shift or collapse. The violent vibration of the pendulo was the final warning. The machine was fighting to break the stasis, pulled by the counteracting harmonic frequency of the music box. They knew the danger. True time travel was now possible, but one wrong move could destroy the mansion. Maya carefully carried the music box down to the cellar, its pure, unwavering melody filling the cold, resonant space. The sound was a palpable force, pressing against the low, ambient discord frequency of the boiler structure. They placed the music box directly on the quartz base of the pendulo, right next to the 3 code keypads. The music box melody immediately began to interfere with the temporal field. The pendulo's huge quartz gears, static for hours, began to turn slowly, reluctantly. "It's working!" Maya yelled over the sound of the melody and the building vibration. "The harmonic frequency is canceling the discord. The pendulo is regaining its resonant temporal lock." The clock on Alistair's wrist ticked again, 11:04:52. Only 45 seconds remained. They realized the terrible paradox. To initiate time travel and correct the past, Alistair had to remain inside the stasis zone until the machine could shift the bubble. But that meant he would be trapped inside his house, lost in time, unable to return to the present. Alistair looked at the spinning gears, the goal of 2 decades within reach. He was about to enter the final sequence that would send the house and himself back in time to save Amelia. Alistair reached for the keypad to enter the final destination sequence. As his finger hovered over the keys, the electrical residual energy around the pendulum spiked one last time. Maya's scanner flared red, displaying a terrifying message. Catastrophic temporal feedback. If sequence initiated, displacement will be permanent. The machine had been designed by his grandfather to prevent anyone from returning to the present. Alistair realized the pendulo would not just shift the timeline, it would erase him from the present entirely. The warning of permanent displacement was the ultimate moral test. Alistair had achieved his goal. The pendulo was ready to travel, but the price was his total, irreversible erasure from the present timeline. He could save Amelia, but he would lose himself and his relationship with Maya, who would never have met him. Maya looked at Alistair, her eyes reflecting the glowing quartz gears. "Don't do it, Alistair. Your grandfather built this to be a sacrifice. He built it to save something else." Alistair looked at the music box, its notes filling the room. He saw Amelia not as a past mistake to be fixed, but as a cherished memory. He saw Maya, his brilliant student, whose future he was about to risk. He suddenly understood the full meaning of his grandfather's legacy. The old man hadn't built the pendulo for himself. He built it as a test of sacrifice and acceptance. The ultimate responsibility was not to use the power, but to control it. Alistair slowly, deliberately, pulled his hand back from the keypad. He looked at Maya, a profound sense of peace replacing his decades of grief. The ultimate scientific act was not intervention, but restraint. He pulled a heavy iron lever on the pendulo's side, the emergency deactivation switch. The lever was designed to violently decouple the resonant core from its power source. The pendulo let out one final, agonizing scream of pure energy as the core tore free from the geothermal power. The sound was deafening, the air filling with the smell of ozone and burning quartz. The violent decoupling stopped the pendulo instantly. The huge brass arms ceased their movement, and the quartz gears ground to a halt. The harmonic frequency of the music box faded. The clock on Alistair's wrist ticked one last time. 11:04:57. And then, with a soft final click, the temporal stasis shattered. Outside the mansion, the sound of birdsong and a distant car horn flooded in. The present timeline had been saved. Alistair and Maya looked at the destroyed, silent machine, and then at each other. They had overcome the greatest flaw, but the knowledge remained. The silence in the cellar was profound, broken only by the normal sounds of the present world. Alistair's clock ticked relentlessly forward. They had stabilized the timeline, not by traveling, but by acceptance and scientific restraint. The something wrong was fixed. Alistair knelt beside the ruins of the magnificent pendulo. The final act of destruction was the true measure of his scientific and moral integrity. Maya looked at the 3 code keypads, the lion, the scale, and the heart. The pendulo is destroyed, Alistair, but we still know the frequency. Alistair gently picked up the music box, its melody now silent. The error was not in the machine, Maya, but in my motivation. The discord was my grief. The harmonic frequency was acceptance. They left the cellar, sealing the door behind them. The mansion was no longer a cage of grief, but a repository of a great scientific secret. Alistair chose to use his immense scientific knowledge to teach and research, dedicating his future to humanity, not to fixing the past. The moral of the story was not the power of the journey, but the wisdom of the choice. You have followed Dr. Alistair Finch and Dr. Maya Singh through the terrifying ordeal of the temporal stasis, watching them race against the clock to discover the discord frequency and choose integrity over obsession. Now tell me, did you manage to discover what the hidden keyword in this story is? The answer required attention to the core scientific mechanism required to fix the anomaly. Did you manage to discover the hidden keyword? Leave your answer in the comments. And if you're ready for the next story with its enigmas, subscribe to the channel and continue binge watching. Thank you for sticking with us until the end.